Welcome back to the arcade. Today we're going to do part 5 of the NeoLoch Inquisitor build series. And today we're going to be building the PIA RIOT Blade, which allows you to test the PIA chips that you find in pinball machines and certain video games. And there's a RIOT chip that you can test that's found in the Star Wars soundboard and I'm sure many other games. So let's go ahead and we're going to get started here. I printed the instructions from the NeoLoch website, and here's the kit. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the kit, separate all the parts, go over the parts list, make sure I got all the parts, label the parts if I need to, and we'll be back shortly and we'll start the build. All right, well, I've checked all the parts and all the parts in the kit. Not too many parts on this one either, so this ought to go fairly quickly. Again, it had the one sheet instructions that, they're not very big, but they're usable if you had to. But again, I opted with the downloadable instructions, which are basically the same. It's just a little bit larger. So let's go ahead and get started. This particular run, this blade is red where it's blue in the pictures. So I guess they changed it. Probably updated. This is a revision C board. I'm not sure what revision board is in the instructions, but revision C is 2017 and it's 2015 on the instructions, so I'm sure, I think this is probably a B in the instructions and this is a revision C, but I don't know if it's any changes or not. If there are, it's probably just simple change, but I'm sure we'll find out during the build. Okay, let's get started. All right, assembly instructions. Most of the board will progress from the lowest profile parts to the highest. That's been consistent in all the kits. Step 1. Solder the 390 ohm orange, white, brown resistor into R10. Okay, R10 is again underneath the LED, which is the power LED. So let's find the orange, white, brown. And here's the orange, white, brown. And there's the power LED, and there's R10 right there. So let's see. Okay. Step 2, solder the 1K ohm brown, black, red resistor into R4. All right, brown, black, red. Find that. Brown, black, red. And that goes into R4. And R4 is right there. And again, I like to put the resistors facing the same direction. No, it doesn't matter, but okay. Let's go to step 3. Step 3, solder the 10K ohm brown, black, orange resistors into R1, R2, R3, and R9. Okay. So they are 10K, which is brown, black, orange. And I believe this will finish up the resistors. Brown, black, orange. There's 4 of them. Now let's see where they go. Okay, look like they all go right here in a row. They got from left to right, R3, R2, R1, and R9. So, go ahead and pre-bend all of these. All right. Okay, got them in there all the same direction and pretty fairly lined up, so they don't have to be perfect. These are all real close together. I think I'm going to do them one at a time. Just because it's so close together. Okay, they're all done. All right, let's see what's next. Step 4, solder the 40-pin socket into U1 and the 18-pin socket into U2. All right, 40-pin socket. And the 18-pin socket. Let's see. Let's do the 40-pin socket first because it's in the middle of the board, and that'll make it kind of stable for putting the other one in, because it should be about the same height. Okay, the notches on this end right here, the notches on the socket right here. So we're just gonna pop it in. And this should be pretty level and hold itself in place. And again, I'm just going to solder 2 pins on each end, opposite sides, and that way I'm going to look and make sure that the socket is flat on the board, And I also want to make sure that I have all my pins in the holes, because you don't want to have one pin that's folded over and you go soldering all these and find out you're missing a pin because it got folded under. Alright, that looks good. So now we can go ahead and just solder all these pins. Okay, half done. I'm going to roll some more solder here. Okay. That socket's done. Take a look under the magnifying glass. Looking good. Okay. Now let's put the 810-pin socket in. And this is very unusual. Usually when they, on a circuit board, all the IC sockets will go in the same direction on the board. Not always, but most of the time when they design something, you know, if the notch is on this side, the notch would be on this side. But this one here, the notch is on the opposite side. So that's different. So we'll just make sure that the notch on the socket lines up with what's on the PC board here. And they definitely look like they're the same height on the board, so ought to be able to flip it right over. And there shouldn't be any problem here. And we just go ahead and solder it in. And just to be on the safe side, we'll check it to make sure it's flat on the board. And make sure that all the pins are there, which they are. So all we got to do is just solder it in. One over here, I need to add a little more to it. There we go. Looks better. All right. All right, it looks good. Let's see what's next. Oh, I guess I should have read ahead here. It says note that pin 1 orientation on the MCU and the MCP 23008 are different from each other. They are, MCU pin 1 is closest to C5 and the MCP 23008 pin 1 is closest to C4. So that's just the same thing that I'd noticed, that the sockets are reversed from normal orientations. So if I had read ahead in the instructions, I would have got my explanation, but now we know. Okay. Step 5. Solder the 0.1 microfarad capacitors into C1, C2, and C4. Okay, and they go around the IC sockets there. So there are 3 of them. They're all the same. A 0.1 microfarad. So I'm going to clip them off of the card here. And there's C1, C2, and C4. Now, like the other ones, these are below the socket. So what I'm going to do these separate then, and do them like I do caps in a cap kit. I'll just put them in, push them down, and bend one leg over, and that one leg will hold it in. And what you can do is, the leg is bent over, you just push down on it and it acts like a lever, and it'll jack up the other side and hold it tight to the board. That's how I install electrolytic caps, or when I'm doing a cap kit to a monitor or whatever. So first you can go ahead and just put the solder on it and then just hold down on it. Let it cool down. Then you straighten up the leg and then solder that. And that's all it is to it. And we do the same thing to the other two. Do C2. All right, now we got left is C4. Do the same thing. Okay. All right, let's do step 6. Solder the 1 microfarad capacitor into C5. The longer lead is the positive side and goes in the hole with the square pad. And that goes right at the notch end of the 40-pin socket, it looks like, right here. So that is a 1.0 microfarad. That's an electrolytic. Let me see which one. There's 2 of them in the kit. This is 1 microfarad. Let me see what the other one is. The other one's a 2.2. Okay. Alright, so the 1 microfarad goes on C5. And C5 is right here on the notch end of the 40 pin. And the positive lead goes in the square pad, which is on the left, is marked positive, which is the longer lead. All right. Take a quick look. Looks good. All right, that's done. All right, now let's do step 7 here. Solder the 2.2 microfarad capacitor into C3. The longer lead is the positive side and goes in the hole with the square pad. All right, and C3 right here. It looks like it's on the opposite end of the 40 pin. Let's see. Actually, it's right here. So let's get that. And it's supposed to be a 2.2. And it is a 2.2. Long lead, positive side goes into the square pad. Take a look, make sure I get it straight. All right. Let's go to step 8. Step 8, to solder the read relay into K1, you'll need to take care as the relay has a built-in suppression diode, so the relay is polarized. There is a small notch on the side of the relay that indicates pin 1. Pin 1 of the relay goes into the hole that is closest to the silk screen notch on the PC board. Okay? Here it is right here. It's right next to the capacitor we just put in, C3, and the little notch is down on the bottom edge right here. So let's find the relay here. And this is the relay. And again, there's the notch along with a little hole, indicates pin 1. The notch is down here on the bottom side. So it goes in just like that. And that is lower than the capacitor. So I'm going to use my foam block. Now what I try to do is line this up so it sits flat, and I'm going to solder one pin and then we'll check it to make sure it is flat, and if not, then we can straighten it up. Okay, that looks good and flat to me. Like I say, it's not critical to get it perfect, but if you're doing a job, you might as well try to do it halfway right anyway. Okay, now let's see what's next. Okay, it's a continuation of that. It says the relays will make a low clicking sound when being turned off. If the tester isn't working as it should after assembly is complete, listen for this click. Can help troubleshoot the relays as a possible cause. Well, we don't want to have to do any more troubleshooting after the last video, do we? But anyway, if we have to, we have to. Step 9. Solder the LED into LED 1. The short lead is the cathode, pin 1, and goes in the hole with the square pad. So yeah, let's again get this right, like we did in the first blade we built. The short lead goes in the hole with the square pad. So here is the LED, and there's the short lead, and the square pad is on the right hand side. So the short lead should go this way. And that should be correct. Alright, again I'm going to use my foam block. And you kind of push it around to get it straight. That just don't show up good, does it? Well, that looks straight right there, but I'll solder one side and we'll take a look at it. That looks good. So we'll go ahead and solder the other side. Okay. Let's see what's next. Step 10, solder in the transistor into Q1. Okay, there's a transistor, Q1. And let's see where Q1 is. There's Q1 right there. And as you can see, the flat side goes down and the round side goes up to the top. As you can see, it's got a flat side and a round side. So it goes in just like that. And once again, we'll use a foam block. And we'll wiggle it around and try to get it right. That looks pretty good right there. Again, I'm just going to solder one side and we'll take a look and make sure it's in straight. It's a little crooked. Oh, it's on this side. All right, that looks good. Okay, it looks good. Now let's see what's next. Step 12, install the PIC 16F1519 and the MCP 23008 ICs into their respective sockets. Note that pin 1 orientation for the MCU and the MCP 23008 are different from each other, and they are MCU pin 1 is closest to C5 and MCP 23008 pin 1 is closest to C4. So again, we noted that before. So let's go ahead and get the MCU right here, and we'll just look, make sure the pins look straight. And again, the notch for this one is down on this end. Here's the notch. Line it up, pop it in. Looks good and straight. Now we'll take the other IC. This one has some bent pins. It's even stuck, bent over. Look at those bent pins. One of these days I'm going to get me one of those fancy pin straighteners. But until then, it's a good old pair of force nips or needle nose pliers, anything like that. We usually do the trick. These are bent pretty good though. I guess something must have crushed the package there a little bit. Okay. Now to get them all back in line, you just put them down on a flat surface and you kind of push it. And that sort of lines them back up in a line. Okay, I think we're good to go. Alright, now here's the notch. This one, the notch is on this end. So we'll turn it around this way. Line up. Okay, that looks good. Now let's see what's next. This completes the assembly of the PIA blade. Now you can insert the blade into the Inquisitor core module and test the blade to make sure everything is working intended. Please refer to the user manual for instructions on inserting the blade and testing PIAs. All right. And the next page, troubleshooting. I'm not going to say a word. Okay. Before we test, you know what time it is. Do you know what time it is? All right. Get my flux brush and my isopropyl alcohol. We'll soak it down and we'll clean the flux. Just pat it down here. Make double sure I get all the flux, any residue that might be on the where the blade plugs in. Okay, well, that's good enough for now. I'll give it a good cleaning later. Take a look at it, make sure everything looks okay. Make sure I don't have any solder splashes. Alright, it looks okay, but it's still got a lot of residue on it. But all the solder connections look good. All right, take long, we'll just let that air dry. We'll be right back and we'll plug it in and test it out. Okay, well, here's the Inquisitor. Let me pull the 4116 DRAM blade out and let's put in the new PIA RIOT Blade. Okay. All right, this is the first time powering it up. And it should come up with NeoLoch LLC, PIA Blade. I'm not sure what version this is going to be. It's probably going to be it could still be version 1. It might be something new, so let's find out. Here we go. Yeah, version 2.10. Okay. Select test 6520, 6821. It also does 6820, which is, I don't know the difference between the 6820 and the 6821, but I'm pretty sure they're interchangeable and compatible. I know that 6820s were the older, you find them on the older Bally pinball MPUs, and I think all the new ones are the 6821s. Now, I think the only thing I have are 6821s. Here they are right here. I used to have some 6820s years ago, but I think 6821s is what I have now. And of course, they go in U10 and U11 on the old Bally MPU boards. So anyway, I have some new ones. I don't have any bad old ones or old ones that I took out of boards that I've never tested because, you know, I never had a way of testing them other than, you know, if the board, if the test, self-test on the board said they were bad, you know, you pull it out and you stick a new one in. Usually on the Bally MPUs that have battery corrosion, because those had NiCad rechargeable batteries, so the cadmium in the batteries would leak, and it's a corrosive material, and it would eat up the sockets and the copper traces on the board and cause all kinds of havoc. So anyway, this one here is a 6821P, an EF 6821P. I believe I have a, well, I think I got one other one that's by another company. I got 4 of these, and then I got this one right here, which is a Motorola MC6821P. So we're going to test all of them and see what happens. Like I say, these are supposed to be new old stock, never used before. So 6821, we hit the test button. It says testing PIA. It's giving you a little bar there. PIA okay. All right. That's what I like to hear. While we're at it, we might as well test all of them that I have. And I'll probably be using some of these soon because I have to fix a MPU for a Bally, a Stern Stars I have out in the garage that I'm planning on getting to here shortly. Okay, this one is good. So I may need some PIAs for that if they happen to be bad. Or at least we can check the ones that's in the board. All right. So far, so good. I haven't heard anybody say that they've gotten any 6821s that were counterfeit. That don't mean there's not counterfeit ones going around out there. But I haven't heard anybody talk about them. Wait a minute. That's bad because I didn't put it in the socket good. A couple of the pins are bent here. So again, we got to straighten up some pins. I didn't see that. Okay. Get it in the socket right. Let's try that again. Okay, that's better. All right, that's good. Yeah, I kind of forget that. You need to check to make sure. Now this one here, this is an old one. I've had this a while. The pins are corroded on this one. So this one may not work unless the pins are cleaned. But let's put it in just like it is. It doesn't look like it just looks like there's silver pins and it's turning black. So yeah, I probably have this for 20 years or more. So we'll try it, and if it doesn't work, then I'll clean the pins and we'll try it again. It definitely needs to be cleaned either way, but Still tested good, so we're good to go. But I'll have to clean those pins before I put it in a MPU. All right, well, that's all I got. I don't have any more. But it looks like we're successful. We have a working PIA RIOT Blade. Now, later on, I'm going to get into testing some Star Wars boards. And even though, as far as I know, all my sound cards work, they do have that other chip on here, which I believe is the 6520. Let's see if it's got anything else listed. No, a 6532. That might be the one that's in the Star Wars. I have to check on that. But yeah, because 6520 is a PIA, I believe, and yeah, the 6532 is a RIOT. Now, even though it only gives you that one number, there might be some other numbers that are compatible to that. I don't know. I've never looked into it and researched it. I'm sure there are probably other compatible RIOT chips that will still work in here. But like I say, I don't know. I haven't researched it. So if I ever come across any that need, I'll have to do the research on that. If anybody knows, just let me know in the comment if you've already researched it and know what other chips are compatible with any of these testers. Go ahead and put a link or a comment in the link below and let us know. I'm sure we all could benefit from knowing, because if you're watching this video, you either have an Inquisitor or you're thinking about getting one. And so either way, it'd be nice to, you know everything about it that you can know. So, all right, well, that's going to do it for the series. There are, I think, one more blade that I can get that I don't have. Maybe in the future I'll get that and we'll add to this little series. But for now, this is the last one I have in the series, and so that's going to be it. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we're going to get into some other projects coming up real shortly. Like I say, I got a set of Star Wars boards I need to test. And let's see what else. I have a couple games that I want to work on, but I haven't decided which ones yet. I got a Frogger I could start on, put back together. I'm also thinking about my Dragon's Lair and my Astron Belt laser games. Yeah, so I got a lot of projects that I can get started on. I just got to figure out what I'm going to do. So as soon as I know, I'll let you know, and hopefully you'll come along for the journey, and we'll just see how it goes. So till the next time, this has just been another arcade fix. Have you had your arcade fix today?